Hi, I'm Joseph Hoffman, and this is part 2 of my 4-part series on playing Solfeggietto by CPE Bach. Let's dive in with some score analysis. Today we're starting on page 2, measure 13. If you'd like some time to go through and circle all of the notes that need a flat because of our key signature, you can always pause to do that, like this B right here. Of course, we'll need a flat. Otherwise, let's do some chord analysis. Pause the video, and I'd like you to try and figure out what chords you see inside each of these boxes. Analyze those chords and press play, and we'll check it out together. Okay, up here we have B flat, G, B flat, D, G. That spells a G minor chord. And then the B becomes natural, which turns it into a G major arpeggio. And don't forget, the natural is still natural there. Any accidental lasts up until the bar line. Then down here, E flat, C, E flat, G, C, high C. That's a C minor arpeggio. And then the E becomes natural, making it C major. Very interesting and cool chord progression. Before we try to play it, let's notice a few details. Remember, this flat line is a tenuto, so the left hand will give a little extra weight on these. Play them quite firmly and strong. We're forte. And then also note that we have damper pedal markings here and here, here and here. So we'll use the damper pedal to give a little bit of extra oomph on these very dramatic arpeggios. The last thing I want you to note is this clef change. Remember, you can change clefs at any time. Usually the bottom clef is bass clef, but if the left hand needs to come up above middle C to help out with some higher notes, that's exactly what we have here. So left hand's going to jump up into treble clef zone, and then it goes back to bass clef, back up to treble clef. So note those shifts and these dynamic shifts as well. We're jumping from forte to piano, a very dramatic section. Let's come and try to play it. Now, if you'd like to challenge yourself to learn measure 13 on your own without watching me first, please pause and go for it. Otherwise, let's take a look. The left hand's here on this octave. Now, if your hand is too small to reach an octave, just play the lowest note. But if your hands can do this reach, you've got that octave from G to G, while the right hand is playing this G minor arpeggio. So you're gonna have to stretch your fingers a little bit. This is part of why we practice arpeggios, so you're ready for this. Oh, and don't forget the rest. 1 E and a 2 E and a. The left hand should lift when you get to beat 2. That's part of the excitement of this moment. And we're also going to hold down the pedal, 1 E and 2, and then release it on beat 2. Now you try. Good. Then the left hand steps down to F. Our pedal is down again, the damper pedal. The right hand changes to this G major arpeggio, 1 E, or 3 E and 4 E, and be sure on beat 4 to lift the pedal, lift the left hand, 1 or 3 E and 4 E and now you try. Be sure you get that 16th rest. This is a 16th rest on beat 3. So the left hand plays by itself on 3, and then on E of 3 E and 3 E, and the right hand comes right in. 3 E and 4 E and now you try again. Good. Let's put that whole measure together. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and notice how when I'm playing this arpeggio, I want you to keep your wrist relaxed and think of gliding through those notes. Your hand's going to shift a little bit to the right as you get to your finger 5. And notice my thumb, or finger 1, isn't even on the keys anymore. Because if I'm touching all the keys at the same time, notice how that creates some stiffness and tension. You want to glide through the notes so it will keep your wrist relaxed. It not only feels better, It's healthier for your wrist and fingers, and it looks fancy too. See here, my finger 1 isn't on the keys. I'm aligned with my finger 5. Then as I shift down, I rotate my hand and wrist this way, then I rotate it back. Try just your right hand going through that G major arpeggio and try to find a comfortable glide for your wrist. Go. You can do the same thing on the G minor arpeggio. Notice glide up, glide down. You can almost make a circle. It can be helpful to think of this kind of rotation. Pause and work on that measure on your own, then press play when you're ready to go on. Now, up to this point, we've been learning hands together, but starting in measure 14, here's a place I think it might make sense to learn it hands alone at first. Notice the left hand. Let's start with the left hand. And in measure 14, we switch to treble clef. Switch to treble clef. That's tricky to say. And come up here. So my middle C is here. So left hand's coming up into treble clef zone. We've got an E flat on the bottom, a C on top. So we're playing a sixth here, and they're marked staccato. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Try that with me. Ready, go. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Now let's look at what the right hand is doing. We have all these 16th rests, so be sure to watch those. 1, the left hand plays by itself, then the right hand on E and a has this octave from G to G and then back. And so I recommend a wrist rotation. Just pretend like you're turning the handle of a doorknob and you're just going to kind of let that rotation motion play the keys for you. You're not moving your fingers so much as just kind of falling back and forth like a teeter-totter almost. And then to put it hands together, your thumbs are actually going to have to interlock. It feels a little bit awkward at first, but just get the hang of this. And the left hand plays 1 E and then the right hand has this back and forth. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and notice the right hand finger 5 steps down, so now it's G, F, G. We have the interval of a seventh now. 3 E and 4 E and. Pause the video and work on measure 14, then press play when you're ready to go on. Now be sure to remember the dynamic contrast as well. I encourage you to build in all the details of the music from the start. Sometimes a student will tell me, well, I like to learn the notes first, and then I put the dynamics in later. Well, the problem with that is you're building habits every time you play it. And if you build in the wrong habits of playing everything the same volume, it's just going to take extra work to retrain those habits later. So it really is best to build in all the details from the start, including dynamics and articulations. Otherwise, you're just creating habits you'll have to break later. So that's why it's helpful to play slowly so you can see and incorporate all those things from the start. So putting measures 13 and 14 together, we have forte, 2E and 3E and 4E and then piano, 3E and 4E and then measure 15, we're forte again, 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. Same idea here. Let your hand glide through those arpeggios using a flexible, rotating wrist. Pause to work on measure 15 on your own, then press play when you're ready to go on. Good, now let's look at measure 16. Once again, the left hand has to come back up to treble clef land. Now we're on an A flat and F. Don't forget your automatic flats. It's really helpful to circle those if you want those extra reminders. 2 staccato chords and then 2 more staccato chords on G and E natural. Try that with me, starting here, go. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Now let's look at the right hand. The right hand has an octave from C to high C with a 16th rest. 1 E and a 2 E and a. And then on beat 3, the left hand steps down. 3, and then the right hand stays on the C here with finger 1. Finger 5 has to play that B flat. 3 E and, 3 E and 4 E and. Pause to work on measure 16 on your own, then press play when you're ready to go on. Let's put all of that together now. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and then piano. And always stop on the first note of the next measure. Pause if you'd like some time to work on putting measures 15 and 16 together. Otherwise, let's go on and check out the next section. Now, let's analyze measures 17 through 20. This time, I'm not going to draw boxes for you. You know enough about analyzing chords by now that you know what to look for. When notes are skipping through in an arpeggio, that's very often a chord. Sometimes notes are just stepping, which will be part of a scale. But like right here where you see these notes skipping, that should be a big clue that we might be doing a chord. So I'd like you to pause the video and looking through measures 17 through 20, see if you can figure out what is going on here. What is Carl Philipp Emanuel doing with these notes? If there's a chord being arpeggiated through, analyze and identify that chord, put that in your music, and then press play and we'll check it out together. Okay, here in measure 17, we start with this high A flat, and don't forget A's are flat because of our key signature, and then we drop way down to bass clef, and then we're just going through the notes of an F minor triad. We step down, and then we're in a C major arpeggio here, and then F minor here, and then we come down the F melodic minor scale right there. Does this look familiar? It should. It's the same original melody, but now modulated or transposed to the key of F minor. This is the third time we've seen this theme, now in 3 different keys. Our very first time we saw it in measure 1 was C minor. Later we see it in G minor. Now we're in F minor. And again, F minor, C major, F minor. That's the 1-5-1 chord if we're in the key of F minor, which is why here it feels like we've modulated into the key of F minor. And then finally, let's analyze measure 21. I want you to imagine a box around each group of 4 notes. Pause the video and will you analyze each of these little arpeggios that are happening here throughout measure 21, and then press play and we'll check it out together. What did you notice here in measure 21? Let's see, we have A flat, F, C, A flat. That is a first inversion F minor triad. Then we have F, C, A flat, F. That's a root position F minor triad. Then we have C, A flat, F, C. That's a second inversion F minor triad. And then finally, A flat, F, C, A flat. Another first inversion F minor triad. So if we take the time to analyze, suddenly these aren't random notes, they're inversions. So think of them as blocks, and this will become a breeze to learn. It's all just F minor. Let's try to play this section. Now pause the video if you'd like to try learning measures 17 through 20 on your own without watching me first. I always like you to challenge yourself, and I encourage you to try to learn as much of this as you can without my help. But if you'd like to watch, let's do a playthrough. The right hand starts on this high A flat, and then the left hand jumps way down here to this low bass F. 1 E and 2 E and then C major chord. We step down, then F minor chord. Then we come down the F melodic minor scale, F minor chord, C major chord, F minor chord, 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and I'll stop on the first note. Actually, that should have been my left hand stopping on the first note of measure 21. Pause if you'd like some time to work on measures 17 through 20. Otherwise, let's look at what happens in measure 21. As we saw, we're just going through these inversions. In fact, before you do anything, let's just practice playing these inversions with your right hand. So play an F minor root position, then come up to first inversion. This is your first block. Then here's your second block. And then your third block, we're actually going to use fingers 4, 2, 1. And then we'll invert it one more time. And if you just remember those positions, you can't play a wrong note here. And the left hand's going to just be playing the bottom note of each group. So 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and notice the the left hand is marked with a staccato and tenuto. So you're going to make it staccato, but with a little extra punchiness. 1 E and 2 E, 3 E and 4 E. And we also have a crescendo mark, so we're building up to this big boom note on measure 22. So pause to work on measure 21 and go ahead and stop on this low D flat octave chord with the left hand. Pause to work on that section, then press play when you're ready to go on. Now, that's where we're going to stop for today. So let's hear a full playthrough from measure 13 that far. This section has so much dynamic contrast where we've got these fortes, then pianos, there's lots of drama. So really play into that and have fun with it. I'll do a slow practice tempo for now. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and that's where we stop for today. On your own, practice this section. I recommend you start your practice with the most challenging sections, which are often the newest ones that you've most recently learned. Play them 5 in a row, 10 in a row, no missed notes, until you feel really confident, and then put it together with the other sections you've already learned. Use slow practice, use the metronome, and later in this series, we'll talk about using the fast tools that I've taught you in previous lessons to make this go super fast and super exciting. But for now, your assignment is to practice slow. Great job today making further progress on Solfeggietto by CPE Bach. In our next lesson in the series, we'll finish learning all the way to the end. Thanks for watching and learning with me, and see you next time.